Welcome back to another episode of Moving the Mountain, a creative leadership podcast. Today's guest is DJ Valentina. Are you from Rhode Island?
I am.
From Rhode Island, okay.
From Pawtucket.
No way.
Yeah, the bucket.
Do you live here now?
I don't, but I was raised here.
Very cool. Where do you live now?
Cranston.
Okay, I grew up in Cranston.
Oh,
whereabouts?
Swapping lives.
Yeah, right. You switched.
Yeah.
I'm with the rats.
I'm near Phoenix, somewhere in that vicinity, Western Cranston.
Okay, yeah, it's nice. I grew up in Park, kind of where Park meets
Ave?
Reservoir.
Okay.
Yeah, by like Malcolm's coffee shop.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever go there?
I do.
Very good. They call him the coffee Nazi or something like that.
He
Cafe
kind
Nazi.
of is.
Yeah. Oh, he's very.
Yeah, he kind of is, but love him.
Is that what they call him? Is it the coffee Nazi?
I don't know, but I can see why that would be a name.
It was like something like that. It's based
yeah.
off the Seinfeld episode.
Yep.
Yeah. But you're a DJ here in mostly Rhode Island, but you do like Southern New England?
I do.
East Coast?
I travel wherever my clients want to take me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how long have you been DJing?
Ooh, I mean, I always say like 15 years or over 15 years, but I feel like that's a good number to stay at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we met a while ago.
A while ago.
Very long time ago.
Yeah.
I feel like I think it was like when it was just starting out. I was just starting out.
I was gonna say you weren't where you are now. I mean, right now you're like killing it, and before you were just starting, and I think we were just getting acquainted then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think your husband was doing like video. I think at a wedding or something like that, or
so it would be my ex-husband who is a photographer.
Okay. Yeah.
But his best friend was doing video.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, that must have been in like 2016, I want to say.
Could be.
Quite a while ago. Yeah. So, how are you doing now? It seems like you're killing it. Like every time, what I hear is like DJ Valentina's best DJ in Rhode Island. You did like a recent TikTok influencer wedding, which was pretty cool. What was that like?
It was cool. For me, it was just like any other wedding because even though I definitely am on social media, it's part of what I do for business. It's also a lot of work. So I didn't know half of the people that were there were actual big TikTok celebrities. Yeah,
because do you follow like the TikTok world? No.
Nope. And I mean, I try, but it's a lot. It's between Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat. It's just a lot to keep up with. And I have 2 children. So it's a lot. So I had no idea who was who.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that was a good thing because sometimes the intimidation comes over us when we know certain people are who they are. So it's for the best probably.
Yeah, it can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Overall though, pretty fun.
Pretty fun. Yeah.
Fun
So fun.
And you were mentioning like before we got started here, last year you did 80 weddings.
Mm.
And now this year you kind of toned it down, 50 weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing either of those numbers sounds like a lot.
It's a lot.
So how do you kind of balance that? You're out twice a weekend?
I mean, I have weeks where I don't have a wedding, which is nice. But sometimes it's like, 3 a weekend. And for someone who's doing providing sound for these weddings, it's a lot of energy coming from me, and you're not really getting it back. And sometimes you do, but it's not always that you actually are getting it back, from the people who are there. So you're doing a lot of work, a lot of giving. And so it becomes tiresome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you like account for that? Like some weddings are obviously like you get energized from it because like the party's going and you're kind of feeding off that energy.
Yeah.
How do you kind of make up for it? Like for when that's not always the case and you got to bring it 3 times in a weekend?
You have to just do it. You find it wherever it is, you just find it. I mean, I have days where during the week, I don't really interact with too many people. I went from being a complete social butterfly to, because my my career entails me to be in front of people all the time and to be the one that's kind of like, getting the party started and being front and center. I have to pull that in my personal life. I have to pull back a little bit so that I can recharge. So there's a balance between, you know, work and then coming home and only giving of my time when it's really necessary for certain people who are truly in need, or, you know, recharging with my family. It's really, you know, I pull back a lot.
So you kind of have to like protect your energy.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
No, I find that it's the same thing. It's like so many people can, you know, want something from you, or you know, you need to give a lot.
Yeah, and even if they don't, you know, just the fact that you're surrounded by people, you know, and you're there, there's a lot of interaction. Even just that, you know, is enough to make you want to just shield a little bit, you know, protect your space. For those who are, not everyone is entitled or allowed to come into my space, because when I'm out there, you have me. You can you can access me at any given point, but then when I'm here, I'm very specific about who's able to kind of penetrate through this bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're doing the weddings, right? How much of it, like, because sometimes, you know, I find there are some DJs, right, where it's just like they want to go right to like get people on the dance floor, like the hits and that kind of thing, and keep the energy up. And I find also too, when they got the energy up, they'll try to like ride that note for as long as possible, right? To keep that like energy like, really going. How much of that do you do? Because sometimes I notice like it's sometimes good to have like a little bit of a break, like so you kind of ride the wave up, but then it's equally as good to kind of like ride it back down and like let it rest for a little bit and then kind of come back up. Like, what's your kind of philosophy on like really kind of keeping the room going on a day?
Yeah, I mean, I think my philosophy is more about feeling. I'm definitely a person who feels energy, and that's a big part of what I do. And balance. You know, I'm a Libra, so balance is very important to me. But I think when you get to that sweet spot where you have everyone going, it can also become stale if it's going for too long. So it's important to give them a different feeling, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to come, you know, have them here and all of a sudden come all the way down. It's a journey that you're taking them on. You're taking them on this sort of musical journey that brings them to a place where you have them up here, but then if you wait too long, then you'll lose them because they can only, you know, dance that kind of energy and BPM for so long. And then eventually when you start to feel like, okay, this is time, bring it down little by little, you know, play this genre and this BPM for a little while and see what that feels like, you know, and then go from there. And it's just, it's a journey that really, I know only when I'm there and reading the crowd and feeling what's going on and seeing what's appropriate for the time being.
Yeah. And do you get a lot of the inspiration like in the moment?
Yes,
it's like,
very much so.
Yeah. So it's not like you're planning a set list ahead of time.
I do plan for what I think it's going to be, you know, because often the couple has an idea of what they want. So you plan for that. Okay, I want it to be this way or that way. So you automatically, you plan to succeed. But then the bigger thing is once you're there, understanding whether or not this list as I have it, not in this order, will it work for the crowd that's in front of me? And oftentimes it doesn't. So if you don't know your music, if you don't know how to read the crowd, then you're going to be in a very tight situation, because I can usually just walk in and look around and see and tell that this is not going to jive with this kind of audience, you know, and I have to give it a try and see how they're reacting. And over time, I'll figure it out, and I'll kind of whisper in the couple's ear, look, I think this needs a change. Do I have permission to change it up a little bit as I see fit?
So you're kind of collaborating with them. You're not like kind of just going off on your own, like, hey, this isn't working, I'm going to try this. Or have you tried that where it's just like, this isn't working, I'm going to try this, and then that works, but then the couple comes up and they're like, hey, this isn't what we wanted. Like, do you ever have that?
So I have had that years ago when I first started, and that's something that it's not a good feeling, because as much as everyone else is having a great time, if it's not what they want, because ultimately the goal is to make sure that everyone is uniting on the dance floor. But if their playlist is not working, then what do you do? And I have had those predicaments where it didn't work, and I took it upon myself to just take them according to how I was feeling and how I thought they were feeling. And it worked really well. But then I had the couple come back and were unhappy.
Right.
because it's not what they wanted. So what I do now is in advance, I say, do you trust me to do what I have to do in the moment if I have to switch things up? And most of them say yes, so that I'm already prepared and they're already prepared. So that way when the day comes, they're not shocked and like taken back. So when I go and I whisper in their ear really for a quick second, they understand. I've already told them. So it's an easy process.
Yeah. And like, what's the, like, what
My
do you
legs
feel
going.
like? Oh yeah, you know, get comfortable, whatever you need to do.
You're really good at this, by the way.
Am I?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now that's a lot of pressure.
Well, you're making me feel at ease, and you know, you're just great. So
Awesome.
I had to throw it out there.
Awesome. I lost my next question. Now. I can't be flattered,
okay.
you know, it throws me off. Oh yeah. So like genres, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if, you know, if the couple has kind of a certain catered playlist or like a certain type of music that they're feeling for the night, but you feel it's like a different crowd, like if you throw something way left, like, you know, maybe they didn't even recommend like 90s music, but you're like, oh, this is such, they're responding to like 90s music. Do you just kind of, you ever go with that, or you make that suggestion, as you were saying, like to the couple?
No, I think ultimately the goal is more so to give them as much of what's on their playlist as possible. But then there are songs that will not be on their playlist, obviously, and that comes from up here. Songs that because I've been in the industry for so long, I know that this will go well. Or if I know that I need to tweak it a little bit and go a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, then I know that I can, and I do it. Because you also don't want to overwhelm them too much by being in the air and asking permission. That's not what this is. I'm the professional. So I'm not going to go and ask for permission for every decision making,
Right.
You know what I
It'd
mean?
be very stifling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
is there a song right now that is like a go-to that you play like at almost every wedding, where it's just like a guarantee to get a good response?
ooh, that's out right now.
Or maybe not even out right now, but you just know it's like, this is like a great one to get people up.
Yeah, I feel like Pepas, you know,
What's
is
Pepas?
Pepas is a song by what's his name? The artist. I have so many artists and so many different nationalities that's just, it jumbles together. But Faruko is the artist for this one, and it's more like a, not exactly that way, but you know how I Got a Feeling was a pretty big, to this day, that was a pretty big song, and you can play it anytime. It never gets stale, because it's one of those songs that just hit. Or Give Me Everything Tonight by Pitbull. So this is more along those lines. You just drop it and it's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a few that I heard one at Belmare, which I never really heard at a wedding before, but like Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana.
Yeah.
I thought that was like, the bride went crazy for it.
Yeah.
Some killer songs sometimes.
Yeah. And those are the songs that like, they're not very, it's not for everyone. But if you drop it at the right time, depending on who you're playing for, it could be such a killer song that was dropped and everyone goes crazy. But it has to be really played well, very well programmed.
Yeah.
Timing is everything.
And when you say program, what is that? Is that like how, like where it drops? You're like lining it up?
Like you can't just throw a song and they're not ready for it. You know, let's say, for example, they just finished eating dinner, and depending on the energy, you decide whether the energy needs to be lifted up and they need to kind of feel something that's a little bit more high energy, or they need to be eased into it. So if they're just finishing dinner and they're not quite ready, quite there, you drop a song like that and it could be like people are rolling their eyes and no one's doing anything. But later on, they've had a few drinks, they're already in there, time goes by and it's like, okay, they're up there. That's a completely different genre, and you just throw it in and they go crazy.
What do you think of like when the couples do the entrance, and like they do like, I've seen it where it's like they do the entrance and then they get like a song going and they get everybody on the dance floor like right away. What's your thoughts on?
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I always love, because picture it, people are coming into a wedding that not everyone knows each other. And so there's always that intimidation, that them being sort of unsure. So if you can get them going right off the bat, it's almost guaranteed that the rest of the night, the dance floor will be packed because they've gotten it out of their system. They're doing it together. They're not feeling like anyone's looking at them. So I think if you do it right off the bat, you're already setting the tone for the rest of the night and letting them know it's okay. Like, this is what we're all about.
Yeah, that was one at Ocean Cliff, and I remember it just being so memorable. I remember the song and the way they kind of ramped it up. It was a band, but it was beautiful.
We don't talk about bands.
We don't talk about bands. We only book DJs. But I was like, that was an interesting way to do it because it breaks off like the inhibition in the room, gets the energy going, and it went long enough where it felt appropriate.
Exactly. That's also key.
Yeah, and then it wanted down, and that's what I found, kind of like knowing when to like ride that wave. What I've found with like DJs and bands, but like knowing when to ride the wave and then like not get so caught up in like controlling, just trying to keep it up there, and like allowing it to come down, back up. But yeah, that's been like a big thing. Where do your couples find you right now?
That's a great question because a lot of my couples do come from out of state. So I have people coming from California, New York, New Jersey, and a lot of it has to do with the wedding venues. It was Google, but my Google has come down because I pulled back on giving it attention. And as you know, Google has changed its algorithms. It's Google My Business page. So if you're not on top of it, then, business is not so great. But so I have to get back on that and fix it. But I think primarily like the wedding venues are recommended me.
Recommend you? Yeah. I find that's always like getting like a vendor referral is like the best. It's like the most, I feel like the couples put a lot of trust into.
They do. They really do. I don't have to sell myself as much if it's coming from a reliable source. And that's you typically either like a friend. So whether it be a couple that has gotten married, has had me, or someone else who has seen me at the wedding, and then they follow me as a result, that they've been following me for a while, so they see what I'm all about. And then they send them there to my Instagram. So like Instagram is also another great platform that gets me a lot of business too. Yeah. So it varies.
And what do you feel like your most ideal client is?
I feel like right now I'm trying to really hone in on the couple who just wants a killer dance party. And I feel like it's always been my thing because I can play anything. But, it feeds you also when you're able to get an audience who's got the energy already and you're not working so hard to figure them out. And I feel like if I can get, again, I'll play anything for whoever wants it, but the younger crowd who just wants more like elevated music, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to play some of the older classics because they're going to have not just their friends there, but ultimately the clientele who wants a dance party, like to feel like you're at a club, but without all of the other nonsense that comes with being in a club.
Right. And do you provide any other than the music, like any part of like the atmosphere with like lighting or, I'm seeing like cold sparks and like the fog and things like that. Do you kind of work with like atmospheric elements as well? Or you just
I do. So there are so app lighting is one thing that we do. Immersive entertainment where you have different acts come in, and they're dressing up in different attire to just kind of, make it feel a little bit more untraditional. But when it comes to cold sparks and, the clouds, all of those things, which I love, I don't dabble in it, but I do have other recommendations.
Yeah, I've seen the cold sparks. The dry ice is kind of cool. Can really kind of change the atmosphere.
I think it completely does. And I think it's another way to, again, my favorite word, elevate. It really does elevate the space and the experience for sure.
I think my favorite is those like CO2 guns.
Those are really cool. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you have to be a really cool couple to want that at your wedding. Yeah. And it's pretty rare. It is rare, but it's rare here. Rare here because I feel like Rhode Island is a little bit more tame. But Jersey, New York, they're more out there. And so I see a lot of that in my DJ buddies who are in Jersey or New York. They do it all the time because it's a different crowd. And so it's just such a party, such a vibe, and people love it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it only at a few weddings, and like, I loved it. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
It makes for great footage too.
It
So I think
does.
that's
Oh my gosh, the pictures are always so killer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I remember I got my start kind of with music. So playing in like restaurants and clubs and things like that. So kind of I have a little bit of an understanding of like kind of like, you know, reading the room. I think that's kind of been like the biggest thing. And I remember I had a certain type of, like, it was like more folk music and that kind of thing. But I remember like it was always.
I love folk music, by the way.
Yeah, it's great.
It's such a good feel. And it suits you too.
Yeah.
You're giving me that vibe.
It's very kind of mellow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, sometimes it was just having a feeling about like a song or like, hey, I feel and I think something too about like the authenticity of like the delivery or just like having like intuition of like, hey, I think this is gonna feel right, you know? And that's usually how I'd like pick my set list. And I felt like whenever I would kind of listen to that and be like, this is a good song for this moment.
Yes.
It would go for really well, get a good response, felt really good in the room. But whenever it was like pandering or just like, you know, kind of felt like forced or like, hey, I want to get the energy up. That's when I felt like I always like felt a little flat and it didn't get a good response.
And then did you veer off of that and sort of went into something else?
From music?
Are you referring to the fact that you would play it and then are you just, this is before you play?
Yeah, so like
preparing.
Sometimes I'd play with I remember one musician in the scene, and he would kind of come at it from like, hey, I think the audience is gonna like this, you know, versus like a feeling of like, hey, what's right for this, you know?
I feel like that's so different than just preparing a set list. And I think that's what differentiates people who have an actual intuition and feeling and listen, and it hits them a certain way. And it's like, okay, this sound and this beat and this kind of vibe is appropriate for this venue and what this is supposed to be. And then once you get there, you can, twist it as you need, but ultimately understanding it to begin with, what's appropriate and what's not.
Yeah. And I think, having that like set list, but like being able to read the room, I feel like that's probably super important as a DJ and a musician.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you have that.
Me too. I don't know if it translates as like a videographer or photographer, but
I think it does though.
To a degree.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the editing process, for even just capturing, I feel like for you as a videographer to have the intuition of knowing a vibe, understanding what feels right. You can capture those moments according to how you're feeling. So for sure it translates.
Yeah.
And then as you go to edit also, that's also part of the process where, you have it and you sense, okay, this song will go really well with this moment, and how you cut it. So yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I guess that really does translate, because sometimes we will get recommendations. Hey, we'd like to use this song for our video, or we'd like to, and there is a lot of like, hey, trust the person you hired. We were there, we were there for the day. We kind of have a good feel. Where it's like, if you choose a song, it's like, you might like the song, but
it won't jive.
It won't jive with the day. But we always do like honor, whatever the client wants. It's like ultimately, we'll go down that road if you want.
Yeah. And if they keep pushing, they don't get it. Okay, I'll give you the final product.
It's like, all right, Bruno Mars.
Be warned.
Opening. So, yeah. But what are your goals now? Like you've really grown your business over the past, how long you've been in business?
Over 15 years.
15 years?
That's a magic number.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are your goals with it? Like, what do you see it, in the future? Like, what do you like about it right now? What are some things you want to change?
I feel like what I love is the fact that I get to do what I love. Music has been such an important part of my entire life, and it's got me through many things. And so I get to do what I love and just be able to share that passion with others. So I feel like that's that part of it. as far as what I want to do with it, right now I'm still toying around with the idea of where I want to go. I feel like I have a good 5 years still, but I also know that this is, as much as I love what I'm doing, it's also draining because it's more than just me playing music. It's more than me just, moving around and pretending I'm having a good time. Like, I have to be in the moment, and I have to find people to connect with, and I have to give really all of me. And there's a lot of brain cells that are being used to try to figure out songs from 1 second to the next that are making sense right then and there. So it's very draining, and I feel like you can only do draining for so long, even if you love it. So
yeah,
I'm toying with ideas of as far as what to do after this. But besides that, one other thing that's important for me, or has been important for me also my entire life, is empowering women, because I come from a culture that's not a thing. Women were looked down upon, and women were less than, and I grew up that way. And so I feel like I want to be that person and that voice. So I want to create a community where women know that this is a community that they need to be a part of, but also understand that you can do anything that you want, put your mind to, and I want to elevate them. And so I have Babes in Business Boston starting up. That's what's helping me with that journey.
And is that like a mentorship kind of program? It's
a networking event. It's your non-traditional networking community, and it's specifically for female entrepreneurs, business owners who are women in business, to again kind of come together in a community where you have a lot of women doing the same thing, different industries, but striving to be their best and do their best, and they're purposely looking to grow, purposely looking to be surrounded by other women who are on the same journey. So it's a community of female entrepreneurs looking to excel together.
Yeah. And so do you feel like you will ever leave the DJing behind to some degree?
To some degree.
Yeah.
I think there's a time for everything. And I feel like over time, yes, maybe it'll dwindle down and I'll be doing a lot less. But I think, sometimes we have to be okay with just checking things off because that time has come.
Yeah.
And just saying thank you. This was wonderful while it lasted. But now it's time to move on to something else. So I think I know the time will come where that will happen. I just don't know when just yet.
Yeah. No, that definitely resonates with me because I feel like in this industry you can put, especially even just being a business owner, you can put so much of your heart and soul into something.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Doing 80 weddings, that's a lot for one person. So it's like, yeah, I resonate with that, where it's like, hey, when times come and it's like, I don't know, there's probably other things like what you're speaking of too, like a mentorship program, kind of giving back. That's probably very rewarding.
Exactly.
Do you ever see yourself kind of branching off and doing like, DJ Valentina brand where you have other DJs beneath you and kind of like you send them out and like you train them? And then...
It's funny that you should even say that, because it's almost like, God is sending me a sign, because it's something that I've been pushing away for so long, the idea of it. And for me, it's always been more about trust, because for me, my brand is so important to me. And those reviews that you see on Google, all those 5 stars, it's like they're real and they're there for a reason. And so the idea that I would have to trust other people maybe not doing things as well as I do is very scary. But I would love to. I just haven't figured out how to let go just yet. So, but it's been a reoccurring topic a lot lately, actually. So maybe I need to start entertaining the thought.
Yeah, it's kind of like that saying, like, trust isn't given, it's earned, But that was the hardest part about kind of what we did here, right? Because I felt the same way, where it's like bringing on, the first guy that went and shot video, for me instead of me being there. So
did you freak out the entire time?
Well, I I did my due diligence before like sending them out. Like we still don't like to do that, just like send out people we don't know. So there's usually like a process that they go to, and he mentored with me for like a full season. So every gig that I went on, he was there with me. So he had a good understanding. He did a really good job. And then I was like,
I feel like you gained his trust over that period of time.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you have anybody that, you know, is like an assistant to you that you're already kind of like pouring into and investing into, but kind of doing that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting way more than I bargained for over here.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I mean, as I encroach 40.
It'll be a breeze.
Yeah. That's awesome. So this it's called Babes in Boston.
Babes in Business Boston.
Babes in Business Boston. When are you kicking that off?
February 8th is the launch. So February 8th, 7 to 10 p.m. The venue is Urban Wild. And it's got sort of this funky, you know, eclectic vibe going on. Really cool. And then after that, once this kicks off and we have a couple of events under our belt, then we're going to move over to Rhode Island. But I wanted to start with Boston because it's such a bigger market. So I wanted to get that situated first, and then we'll move and we'll create a Rhode Island chapter.
And is it like, do you purchase tickets to it? How do you get involved in it? Yeah,
so there are different tiers of membership or ways to go about being a part of it. So you can come as an attendee and you can purchase a ticket, just like, you know, WIPA or a NACE, any other networking event. It's that without all of the fluff that comes with attending a networking event, because they're so intimidating and non-fun to attend initially. So this is more trying to make sure that you feel good immediately when you walk in and you feel comfortable. But yeah, tickets to purchase as attendees, and then you go into memberships, which, you know, will be starting as soon as the event starts, sponsorships, and the list goes on. Yeah.
And did you set all this up? Yeah. Wow. It's probably a lot to think through.
Well, so I brought into a franchise because it's something that I've wanted to do for the longest time, but to do it on my own from the ground up, as you know, as we both know, starting our own business.
I was like, where did you find time to do all this?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a whole process. And when you have something that's already there and it's already aligning with what you're looking to do, I just thought, you know, this is it. And when I know, I typically know. When I know. Sometimes you do a million things to get to where you need to be, and this fails and that fails. But for me, at least with this, and anything else that I've done before, I felt and I knew. And this is one of those things where when I saw it, I just immediately, something inside me clicked. And so I bought the franchise, and everything else is done for me. I just have to do my part and put my heart and soul into it. That's it.
And what would you hope like an attendee would take away?
I think the experience, you know, just of being with other women who are looking to do the same thing. The experience of connection, of learning, of getting that education that we're bringing. I'm very intentional about the speakers, because I feel like certain people can truly pour into you in such a way that you leave wanting to change or wanting to better yourself. So I hope that they walk in there feeling comfortable and leave feeling excited, motivated, and confident.
And this is targeted as like at people that are, or women specifically, that are looking to be business owners or are business owners and looking to grow?
Yeah, so it's really any level, you know, women in business, period. And I think you can be at any level. So if you wanted to just come in for some motivation, see what that feels like, you know, see what you can gain from it, take away from it. I think that's, anyone can go there at any level, whether you're already successful, you're killing it, because I think you can also pour into others, and connections can be made at any stage of your business, period. So you can have someone that is just starting out, and that can be a connection, or they could be the person who connects you to the next big client, you know?
Yeah. Cool. And is there like a site that people have to go to sign up for that?
babesinbusinessboston.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that the franchise name?
Babes in Business is a franchise.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they have different chapters. So because my chapter right now is Boston, that's why it's Babes in Business Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Couple more questions.
Yeah.
What's been like your favorite venue to DJ at?
That's such a great question. I feel like there are so many to choose from. It's hard to right off the top of my head.
It doesn't have to be Rhode Island.
Doesn't have to be Rhode Island. I don't know. I feel like each venue has a different feeling according to who's there. You know, and obviously there are some venues that I won't name that are not ideal, whether it be the load in, but especially like for me, when it comes to DJing, you have to connect with the people. You have to be close enough to see them, to feel them, to be in their space, but not right on top of them. And I feel like some venues have a very weird layout where you're either in the corner and there's a table in front of you. Like it's a barrier preventing you from doing what you need to do, you know? And so I feel some venues have that sort of like odd setup and it's not appropriate or it's too dingy. I don't know.
Yeah.
So some of them are not ideal, but I think it's easier to say that rather than my favorite venue. I feel like that part of it is tough because I have some really good venues I play at.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite wedding that you've had?
All of them?
All of them?
I mean, no, I shouldn't. It's not all of them because like I said, some are more giving than others. For me, when the couple are fun and they're all about partying instead of worrying about the mundane things, I feel like that puts their couples at ease and their guests at ease, and it makes them want to party.
Yeah.
So that for me is, I think, the most exciting wedding because they're already there, ready to party. I'm just giving them the very best of me because I'm having to think less and work less up here.
Right.
You know, so if it's a natural, organic flow, then I can really be creative. I can really like throw in the surprise elements and just throw some random songs that they haven't heard in a while or just drop it at the most appropriate time. It's just like, that's an experience, but I'd have to have the right audience for that.
Right. I always try to encourage couples like to just like relax, enjoy their day. You know, I find when they're trying to control every aspect of the day,
it just like, messes with you, right?
Yeah, it messes with, because it does. It can get into your vendors' heads a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
And like, you just throw things off, and then it just becomes a very manufactured kind of feeling throughout the day, and that's tough. And I end up feeling sorry, you know, where it's like, you know, because ultimately they're just trying to enjoy their day, but they're going about it in a very
in a very opposite way,
counterproductive way.
Exactly.
Yeah. But those couples that are just really just kind of let things go and go with the flow, those are always like the best days.
Always, and that's one thing that I think I even put a post up about that. It's just when you hire a professional team, then be at ease knowing that these are professional people. This is what they do all the time. So therefore, let your guard down and enjoy, because otherwise you're wasting thousands upon thousands of dollars for one evening and you haven't enjoyed it. By the time the night ends, you're wondering what the heck just happened.
Right.
You know, but when they do let go and trust the process and they're able to just let you do you, not only are you as a professional at ease, but that energy translates over to their guests also.
Everybody, yeah.
You know, through and through, that energy is flowing through everyone and it becomes just like a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some weddings. I went to one this past year. I wasn't shooting it, but the team was. I just showed up. But there was like something just in the air. I was like, this wedding is like, there's some magic in the air. It's just going smoothly. The weather was pristine. Yeah. Like everyone just seemed like, you know, when they're like, hey, how you doing? Like, I was like, just felt like a lot of love. And I was like, I wish I was shooting this wedding.
Yeah. You know? So just to tap into that, I felt that very thing that you're talking about I think it was September. So I did a wedding for Robin Roberts of GMA and Amber Lane, and that wedding the entire time, and that's the experience, like right off the bat, you can sense a vibe flowing through, whether it be good or indifferent. So you can feel it. And what you said exactly is that the joy is permeable. You can feel it. You can almost see it the entire time. It's just you feel it, but you look over and you get it from someone else, and there's just this lax understanding and vibe, and you just bounce off of each other, and everyone is just like, whether you know them or not, whether they're celebrities or not, which, you know, when you're doing a celebrity event, it tends to be stuffy, and you are careful, you know, to approach anyone. But this was that experience where the joy was truly there, and it was going through everyone else. So it was a very comfortable setting where you can talk to anyone, and you felt very well about it. Yeah. So
was this one a celebrity one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this was Good Morning America. Yeah. I don't wake up early enough either to see it. If it's
was
not
it like
after
a host
11.
Of the show? Was it?
Yeah, Robin Roberts. She's pretty amazing, and she's the host of this. Yeah, it's just part of the Good Morning America.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
Was it on, was it in Rhode Island?
It was in Connecticut.
Okay. What was the venue? Can't say it?
I can say it. I just forgot. There's so many, and
there's so many.
It just kind of jumbles up in your mind, and I can pull it up on my phone, which I don't have. But
the only one in Connecticut I remember is Salt Water Vineyard. It's probably the only one.
Wasn't that? I would remember if you said it.
Yeah. And then you did. So do you do a lot of celebrity weddings?
I feel like it's becoming more of a thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I was such a dreamer for so long, and you know, when I was younger, before having kids, I wanted to do that. I've sort of manifested it, and it's taking a while, but it's starting to happen. It's taking traction.
Yeah. It kind of seems like once you get your foot in the door, and it seems like you got to be in with like planners for like the luxury space kind of thing. It's not so much like advertising and that kind of thing. Maybe some referrals, but
yeah, I feel like I've avoided working with planners for so long. I've avoided networking and working with planners for a very long time, and I had this idea of planners because of the planners I dealt with. That were not very nice. They were not very approachable. They were more like telling you what to do. And it's like, I know very well what I'm doing. It's just your approach to how you deal with people. There's an art to it. Yeah. So I just didn't really resonate with the average planner and how they worked. So I avoided doing that for so long. And I went and learned that's where Google comes into play, because I learned all of the algorithms and how Google worked. And I figured if I can figure this out, I'll get my own clients. I don't need them to give me clients or relying on them. But after years of doing this, over time, you realize, you need to make a change in your business. And that was one of the changes. If I wanted to do a certain kind of wedding or a certain kind of event, I knew that those clients would be looking to a planner first. And that's where it started.
Right.
And so therefore, I needed to make more connections, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. There have been planners in the past where it's like a little prickly,
to say the least.
And it kind of seems like when you have a planner, it's like their show. It's like you're working for them.
Exactly.
In a way.
Yeah.
And so I can see it. It's like when you do, and you're all there to serve the couple, but it can sometimes throw a wrench in the day, which can be challenging. So it's like, but I have heard that too. Like being in the luxury space, it's all about like you're serving the planner. You're serving like their vision. That's what I've been told.
Not all. And for me, I'd rather not work with a planner if I'm going to feel that way. Because to me, no amount of money, no client, no matter what their their status, their caliber is going to be enough for me to worry about my peace of mind and how I feel. I feel like I've worked so hard to be where I am, where I understand what's important, and my well-being and my peace is extremely important to me. So if I have someone who's just, even a bride that's just a brat, or a planner who has that bad rep, I refuse.
Yeah.
I'd rather just sit home than have to deal with, your ego and you not understanding how to deal with people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important to do like those. anytime a red flag has kind of surfaced in like a client meeting in the past, it's just like, yeah, I've passed on a few things.
Yeah.
Saying this isn't, I'm probably not the right fit for you.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And just understanding that, I feel like is so big, you know, because I feel like in the beginning, of course, we took on whatever to get to where we need to get. But then once you are at a certain place and you're comfortable, then understanding that, okay, it's not going to work because it's going to cause you more stress, you know, and more headaches through the process than it's worth. So we're better off just cutting the cord now.
Yeah. And I think like sometimes I can just tell if a client or a bride is going to be a little bit particular.
Yes.
You know, and I don't mind dealing with particular. It's like I'll do particular. Like I don't want to do it all the time. You know, but there's some clients where it's just like, you know, sometimes parents they've been like, they'll be like just like abusive or like disrespectful, and I was just, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, red flags. Don't ignore them.
Yeah. Because
it'll come back to bite you in the cadera, as we say in my country, which is back here, and it's not worth it.
Yeah. Where are you from, by the way?
Cape Verde.
Okay.
Yeah. West Africa. They know it here because the majority of them are either here, New Bedford, or Brockton.
Yeah.
You know, that's primarily where we've gone to, but most people don't know.
Pastor Marco, he was from Cape Verde.
Yes.
Do you know him?
I know him.
Okay.
Because I've gone to your church, and I've gone to your church because of you.
Really?
Yeah.
But never my
He's
campus.
Very good.
Did you
your
go
campus is...
we're in Warwick.
Yeah.
You
your
been
campus,
there?
I
Really?
have. Mm-hmm.
I never saw you.
Yeah. I mean, it's massive.
It is big.
Yeah.
But it's not that big. The other ones are bigger.
This one was bigger than my home church, which is the one I grew up going to.
Yeah.
But he does a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go when we were in North Kingstown?
No.
No? Tollgate?
It's Rhode Island. It's too far.
Yeah.
Tollgate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
wait, not Tollgate. It was you had to go up a little ways and go
East
in the back.
Greenwich.
Perhaps, yes.
That was probably a while ago then.
This was probably a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Maybe it was Tollgate.
And it was during the summer because it was easier to get to you from where I was than it was to go to my church. So we were going there, and then I'd bring the kids home, go to my event. But it was very close to me. So East Greenwich, I think Warwick, no? I think Warwick.
Yeah. That's where we are now. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But we were in the East Greenwich High School, and then we moved to a building, and now we're in like the West Warwick. Well, not Tollgate.
When did you move?
Probably about a year and a half ago, I'd say.
Okay.
Probably been there about that long.
Because I did go to the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been on the move since we started.
Killing it.
Yeah, with the church?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of setup.
It is, but you guys do a good job. You know, the choir. I feel like, you know, a big part of going to church also, I mean, maybe it's just because for me, I'm so into music, but I feel in general, like a big part of it is also the choir, you know, to be able to have a good choir and experience that. And it's almost like a concert, really, with you guys, you know, and it has that type of production. So I really enjoyed that part of it for sure.
Yeah, the singers are great. All the musicians are really good. Mm-hmm. It definitely helps. My mom was, because my mom goes to a different church, but she, you know, it's like not to the same, you know, level or your skill with the musicians, that kind of thing. So she's like, I miss the worship of like your church because it's like.
Yeah, you really feel there, you really feel present, and they guide you in such a way. So yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2024, what do you got in store?
2024. I feel like for 2024, even though my biggest thing has been to always get closer to God, like that's been my mission. I feel like it'll be my entire mission as long as I'm here. But I feel like everything you go through in life sets you up for the next thing. And even though I felt like I was always a child of God in his presence, always trying to better myself and do better. Each thing that comes makes you better and makes you, even though you think you're there-ish, there's always room for growth. And I've gone through some things, and I've really, God has really shined, and I feel like I'm seeing that I just want more. I want more of it, and I want more of it. And at any level, that means getting closer to God. So that's going to be, I think, ultimately the biggest focus for me, is to just try to understand that each time I keep saying that, I am reminded that this is the thing that needs to be more important in my life, or most important in my life. And everything else just, once you're there, everything else makes sense.
Yeah.
And I just feel like this year, that's going to be a big, big focus of mine, to really make sure that I don't venture too far off. It's like calling your parents. You go and you see them, and then time goes by, and a couple days go by, and you forget.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Yeah.
Especially
like in our, if you own a business or something like that, it's easy to get swept away,
yes,
carried away, and overly ambitious.
Yes.
And yeah. So I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta bring yourself back. But at the end of every the off season, I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah. And I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
Because you have so many things happening at once. Like life happens anyway, and then you include the business aspect, and you're killing it, the way that you have so many people to watch over, and, have to, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot more than the average person, but yeah, you have to rein yourself in. And at the end of the day, because so much is going on, you definitely have that feeling like, whoa, I need to sit with myself and figure out who am I at the end of the season, for sure.
Yeah. Who am I? What am I doing? What's important?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the big ones.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Of course. Any kind of final thoughts you want to do a call to action for maybe some of those women to kind of sign up or something like that? I'm not sure if it would be out in time, but maybe for the next one even, or how people could find you.
Yeah, I mean, am I supposed to look at the camera? I don't even know what to do. I've been
kind of camera.
That camera there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if see, this I'm bad at. I'm DJ Valentina. Find me on Instagram, DJ_Valentina.
There you go. Awesome. That was easy.
Right?
Yeah.
For you.
Very good. Very good.
Killed it.